We are continuing today in the Hakdam, in the introduction of Mesillas Yesharim. The Ramchal says as follows: Im lo nistakalnu v'lo iyonu mahi hayira ha'amitis u'ma anafeha, eich nikna osa, ve'eich nimolit min hahevel ha'olamim meshakeach osa melibenu. The Ramchal continues and he says, if we have never really tried to understand what is true Yiras Hashem, what does it mean? Now, Yira we often translate as fear, but again, we'll also see that it means a reverence. If I don't take the time to really understand what Yiras Hashem actually is, ma'anafel, what are its various branches, then how could I acquire this spiritual quality for myself? He goes on, he says, furthermore he says, furthermore, there are so many things that seek to undermine a sense of Yiras Hashem. There are things that get me to forget the Ribono Shalom. So if I'm not actively trying to make myself aware, trying to cultivate a sense of Yiras Hashem, of course it doesn't happen. Even if once I learn it, if I'm not constantly reinforcing it, there are so many forces in this world that act against me. I could end up forgetting my concept or my sense of Yiras Hashem. Ha'ava kimokin, same thing with love of Hashem. Im lo nishtadel likbo osa b'levavenu, bekoach kol ha'emtzam ha'megim osan alazeh, eich nimtzeh banu. The Ramchal is really reinforcing the same idea we made in yesterday's shir, which is these things, Yiras Hashem, Avas Hashem, reverence of God, love of God, they're not innate. They're not innate. So if I don't take the time to learn it, how will I ever acquire it? And even once I acquire it, if I don't reinforce it, the forces that exist in this world will undermine it. When will we ever find a sense of clinging to Hashem and a sense of an inspired soul, a connection to Hashem and with His Torah? So again, we're going to see the concept of dveikos, of clinging to Hashem, and a sense of spiritual enlightenment comes when we contemplate and ponder the greatness of the Ribono Shalom. But if I don't take the time to ponder that greatness, then how will I ever cultivate these traits within myself? V'amidos kulam hatzrichos kimokin tikun v'yishara. Similarly, again with all midos, general, a sense of midos, a sense of proper character traits, right? At the end of the day, they also require rectification. They also require refinement. Ultimately, how can they ever be fixed? How could they ever be remedied? How could they ever be refined if I'm not committing the time to make them better? What the Ramchal is just highlighting over here is spirituality in this respect is no different than anything else. You could only refine something, better something, reinforce something, cultivate something, build on something if you're giving it time. If you're not giving it time, then by definition, the midah, the character trait, the behavior doesn't take root. And Ramchal continues. He says, "Hello, im iyonu ala davar iyun amiti." If we think about this in an honest and truthful way, hayinimotzim oso ala mito umetivim leatzmenu. If we would really be honest with ourselves and recognize ultimately again that the cultivation and bolstering of these traits requires time and effort and concentration, we would put in the effort. We'd help ourselves, we'd help others. Humash Amar Shlomo im tebakshena kakesa v'chamat monim techapsena as tavin yiras Hashem. Shlomo says in Mishlei something so beautiful. If you seek out Yiras Hashem, reverence of God, a relationship with Hashem, and it applies to everything, Avas Hashem, Deveikos, Chasidos, if I seek these things out like they were silver and buried treasure, then I would understand them. And Ramchal makes something, he points out something amazing over here. Eino Omer as tavin filosofia, as tavin tchuna, as tavin refuah, as tavin dinim, as tavin halachos, el az tavin Yiras Hashem. It's interesting. The Ramchal points out over something amazing. It's quite possible that with other disciplines, even if you put in the effort, you may not understand the particular subject or material. Simple example. A person may put in hours trying to understand some complex mathematical equation. Just because you put in the time doesn't mean it's going to work. And it's quite possible some people just aren't necessarily mathematically oriented. I put myself in that category. I can spend hours upon a complicated mathematical equation and still not be successful. Shlomo HaMelech says something amazing. While that is true with other disciplines, it's not true with spirituality. In spirituality, specifically here, they're talking about Yiras Hashem, reverence of God, love of Hashem, connection. If you're willing to put in the effort, and you put in the same amount of effort as if you were looking for buried treasure, the same amount of effort as trying to make money, if you seek out spirituality in the same way that you seek out money, in the same way that you seek out buried treasure, Shlomo HaMelech tells us, I will be successful. Because essentially, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees that I am looking for Him, He sees that I'm looking for spiritual success, He's going to help me along that journey. Should a person be content with the spirituality that he's learned from his forefathers, or with that which is generally known in matters of religion? In other words, that in every other area of life we try to better ourselves, right? My parents give me X. My goal of a child, I want to take the foundation my parents gave me and I want to build on it. Yet so often, says the Ramchal, when it comes to matters of religion, matters of spirituality, we get what we get with our parents, and sometimes we don't realize that we have an obligation, a spiritual obligation, to build on it, to not be content with what we just get, but to take what we get and use it as a platform, use it as a foundation to build upon. Could it be that we find time for everything else? I find time for everything else. At the end of the day, I find time for every other discipline. I find time for my job. I find time for my career. I find time for my family, which are all incredibly important things. I have to find time for this as well. Lama lo yikba adam liatzmo itim lefachos leistaklos hazeh imuchrachu b'sheiris zmano lifnos el iyunim o el asakim acherim. So here the Ramchal says something so beautiful. If at the end of the day I find time for all of the rest of life endeavors, all of our life's endeavors, then I certainly must find time for my spirituality as well. I must find time to cultivate a sense of chasidus, personal piety, to cultivate a sense of avas Hashem, love of Hashem, yiras Hashem, reverence of Hashem, dveikus, connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, obviously, we don't know how to do these things yet, right? We're still in the introduction. But what Ramchal is saying is, in order to accomplish something in life, the first order of business is, you have to make it a priority. If I don't make it a priority, if I don't deem it as important as any other life initiative, I'm not going to be successful. We'll stop over here for today. Look forward to continuing tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.